गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गणेश शॉट। गणेश शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी गोना टॉक ऑफ समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, दैट इज अंडरस्टैंडिंग द चाइना विद इंडिया इज डीलिंग विद। Look, let's be very clear, we are in talks with China, and these talks are pretty sensitive, and we're talking of the border, you're talking of this, you're talking of trade, you're talking of a whole lot of things, right? And when any negotiation, even in our life, we also always try to assess what are the cards which we hold, what are the cards the opposition holds. It's any game of poker or teen patti or rummy. It's always a matter of seeing which are the cards you're holding and which are the cards that your opposition is holding. So it's in that context that it's very important to understand where China is. What is China's strengths? What are China's weaknesses? Unless we understand what China's weaknesses are, we won't know how to play our cards. Because normally in India, it is all, or largely everywhere, it is always felt that look, China is a very strong country. It is a strong country. It's the second largest economy. It is the second largest economy. I have no doubt. And when you're dealing with a strong country and this thing, you should know where its weaknesses are. Every man, woman, child, country has its weaknesses. And good, bad, or ugly, it could just happen that even a big man can fall sick. And a big man who's fallen sick or a big woman who's fallen sick can't do much. That's what we have to see. Where is China's sickness? Okay. Now, what I'm going to, actually today morning, I wanted to do something about USA. Till I saw this, Chinese tortoise. This is not my imagination. I mean, till about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, I didn't even think that I'll be speaking of China. And I was preparing about USA and how we have to deal with USA and things like that. And lo and behold, I came across this article. Oh, sorry, we'll come to that. I came to this article, right? It's called China's Involution Problem is not just about supply, but also about demand. And that's where I saw this, Chinese tortoise. And I said, let me pick it up from there. Right? And I'll come back to this article, but I thought, let me put things in context so that we understand what we are about to do. Right? Yesterday evening, our Prime Minister has put out a tweet. He says he's very happy to meet the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. And he's also said that, look, he's looking forward to their next meet in Tianjin on the sidelines of the SCO summit. He says stable, predictive, constructive ties between India and China will contribute significantly to regional as well as global peace and prosperity. Very erudite statement from our Prime Minister. Okay. And till yesterday, Wang Yi was in India. And then just towards the end of the day, it came out that China has lifted restrictions on fertilizers, rare earths, and tunnel boring machines. Well, we've got over the problem at this point of time. But fertilizers, why are we getting fertilizers from China? There's something wrong with what a government is doing. After all, if you are getting so much, you're refining so much oil, which you're getting from Russia, why are you not getting fertilizers? So there's something wrong, I think, which I'm sure the government will have to look into it in detail. Rare earth, we'll talk of it a little later. But tunnel boring machines important because you're building metros and this and that and infrastructure and you need them. So there is some thaw in the relationship is there. It's there. The thaw in the relationship is there. It's only for us to understand how deep is the thaw and can India make use of it. And India can make use of it only you understand what's happening in China. Where is China situated at this point of time internally? Right? Like I said, unless you know how sick your opponent is, you don't know how to attack him. So, involution. I've spoken of involution earlier. Nijuan, thing to look inward, right? It's just not about supply, but also of demand. So, involution, you can keep making anything you want, but is there demand to take it off? Sorry, there's no demand, and it's oversupply. But my interesting take on this is what is written in this article, and I thought I'll put it across to you. What they've said, which is I think very the crux of this article. It takes a lot of things for in the Chinese media. This is all from look. All my sources are Chinese. None of my sources are Indian. Please, that's the first thing. So my views and everything is an analysis of what comes out from China. Right? That's the thing which you have to understand. Now, what he says, the potential worst case scenario for continued involution may be to drive away many Chinese enterprises into a vicious cycle of low price and low quality competition. That would undermine China's ambition to move up the value chain via new productive forces. The new productive forces, which Xi Jinping started last year, beginning of January, are faltering. Like every other program of Xi Jinping, which has faltered. Today in Chinese social media, the popular topic online is the period of economic upturn, when how things were good in the 90s and 2000s, because things are not good. Oh, those were the days. They were so great. This is thing. People in China are saying, "यार वो दिन थे, ये दिन क्या है?" Right? And they recalled, the abundance of job offers, steady increase in wages, and the optimistic views that tomorrow will be better than today. Unfortunately, that tomorrow is worse than today. It appears, and today is worse than yesterday. Right? While many of these stories which are being shared online are very romanticized, that China was the land of milk and honey, today's economic reality is something different. They reflect today's problems. Look at the people. China is not made of robot space and military. It's made of people, and we need to see and understand the people. That's the thing. Okay, and for a Chinese media to show a Chinese snail gives a lot. It's to me, it means a lot, and that is why at 4 o'clock I put this thing together, went for a walk, thought of it and everything, and I quickly came and put all this. And the picture which comes out is pretty powerful. And I thought I'll share it with you. It might not be the most popular post of mine, but I think it's the most relevant post of mine. Consumer prices are flat in July, and there is deflation. There is deflation in China. We need to understand that. There's no consumption, there's involution, there's excess production, it's going nowhere. And they need a market. China needs a market. Please, that's the point I'm trying to make. China today is a big man who's sick. At one point of time, we used to talk of Pakistan as the sick man of Asia. China. Youth unemployment. Yesterday's story. It's at a 11-month high. Because a lot of graduates have joined and there are no jobs. Again, all this is data coming out of China. They're not coming from my, factory or from my misinformation thing. Look at this. This is the graph which the Chinese have put out. Okay, this is the graph which Chinese have put out. And if I'll show you, This was the time last year, 2 years back, 23, when they stopped producing these figures. Then they came up with corrected figures. And suddenly they found, they got the unemployment, youth unemployment down to here. But from here, it's gone back here. This is the latest. See the spike at the end. Actually, if you transpose this, go back to the old figures, it's like this. It's an all-time high unemployment. So the internal dynamics of China are pretty poor. I mean, we shouldn't have any doubts about that. And what's not today morning is that if that was yesterday, today morning, Hong Kong joblessness is increasing. That was mainland China. This is Hong Kong, and Hong Kong has one of the lowest joblessness ratios because everyone gets a job in Hong Kong. Thriving economy, all that. There's a problem. Major problem in Hong Kong also. People are using retirees in the job for jobs rather than young people. Why? Because if you retire, you're supposed to be given, social pension and insurance and all that from a job. So if I'm kept in service, I can be paid less, and for the same amount, there's no social insurance to be paid. China has a funny way of social insurance. I mean, I don't know how it works, but somewhere the companies pay, somewhere the state pays. When I say the state, the provinces pay. The center and the federal government never pays. Even for the armed forces. The pensions for the armed forces are based on what the states or the provinces give. There's a funny thing about the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China doesn't take care of its own people. That's what I'm getting to. So there's an issue, right? So joblessness increased, and their pension system, it needs an overhaul. Their headlines are saying it's neither fair nor sustainable. People are just not being paid enough. If pensions are not there and there's an aging society, where is it going? Right. This is a very interesting article. It's about Evergrande. Look at the top. Evergrande, 4 years after Evergrande crash, Chinese families are still stuck in broken homes. People, let me read one paragraph which I highlighted. It's about a person called V. V's apartment itself is little more than a shell. So people who had booked houses were told, yeah, this is it, your house, take it. Because that fellow couldn't finish the flat. He was just given. It's more than a shell. The floors are bare cement. There is no permanent water or electricity supply. And the building does not comply with Chinese fire safety regulations. So this poor V says the developer delivered the property without even meeting the basic inspection standards, essentially saying take it or leave it. Thank you. This is the case across everyone, not only Evergrande, but everyone. So all these developers in China have handed over flats to those poor people without finishing it. So the armed Chinese who took a loan for a flat, right? And he's paying mortgages of that loan. Finally, he got a flat which is not finished, and he's forced to live in it. It says V is one of the millions of Chinese home buyers who are still living in the shadow of property giant China Evergrande Group's collapse 4 years ago, which triggered the 300 billion debt crisis that shook China's housing market to its foundations. It's still shaking. There was a movie called Garonda long back. It's about a couple trying to buy a flat in, Bombay and all that. How that whole thing collapses, everything. Must read it. Must see it. When I read through this article, my mind went back there. You can imagine. And so many Chinese are there. And if so many Chinese are stuck with these properties which are half finished, on which they are not able to, they don't have a job, they don't have they have huge mortgages. How will they consume? Reality. So why is China weak? Because of this. Add to that Trump's tariffs. Trump's tariffs, if they have had any effect so far, it's on China. I've done shows about it. This is a very, very well researched article. This is the only article which I'm going to show outside the Chinese primary sources about from New York Times. Today, China is a nation of, I mean, people who are drowning in debt. Traditionally, Chinese are savers by nature, like us. The normal Chinese, like all of us in India, are savers. We save. We tend to save. Our saving rates are high compared to the Eurasians or the Anglo-Saxons who just spend, who live on debt. We don't. Logically, most of us Asians like to save for the rainy day and don't spend beyond our means. Right? China is a nation of savers, but today these Chinese are drowning in debt, not by their own volition, because the government wants them to do so. And what they say, what this comes out in this article, and this is by a Chinese woman who's written for New York Times, came about 2 weeks back. It's not left my mind. And this is what the government is doing internally. China, and why? Because they want to rev up the GDP. Because the Chinese government, at the end of the day, wants big GDP. Somewhere it has lost contact with the people, that the people matter more than GDP. China wants its people to spend more, save less, take on more debt. Why? Because it needs this expenditure to revive the economy. It's the government by structure is expanding access to credit so that the economy can get stimulated. And to do this, there are innovative ways being devised. And as per this report, and which is corroborated by many number of Chinese are falling in debt. And there's a deepening personal debt crisis in China. This is some statistics, 21 to 24. Household rate, saving rates grew 50%. Why? Because there's a big decline in housing values. Money is they keep keeping into the bank. And households who could not afford to pay back have nearly doubled. These are statistics. They're mortgages. Young people are caught in cycles of debt and they have poor financial literacy, high youth unemployment, which is corroborated by what I've just shown you, and wages are stagnant. This is a perpetual thing. Am I saying something new? We knew all this, but I'm reiterating it because this is all this is about 10 days, 15 days old news which is coming out from China. If that is so, we should know how to deal with it. Factory workers, young professional, gig economy workers, all these people can barely make their ends meet. They are living in fear of default. They keep getting calls from debt collectors. Okay, that's how they are. They borrow from one online app to pay off the other online app. In 2024, last year, 25 to 35 million people defaulted on personal loans. Their default numbers, the risky borrowers, people who are considered risky, is anything between 61 to 83 million people. And taking on loans is a matter of survival, not consumption. They have to take loan one to the other. They're rolling over loans, just like China is rolling over loans to Pakistan. You take a loan to repay a loan. The Chinese are in that stage. There's a split in the Chinese economy. The people who are better off are saving for the rainy days. The people who are not so better off, they have no choice but to take on debt. There were 50,000, 20,000 respondents were surveyed in 50 cities by one of the Chinese banks. Their own consumers are increasingly pessimistic. Job security is low and willingness to spend has dropped. So consumption is flat. In fact, it's not there. Okay. And this is again corroborated, although that article by New York Times is being corroborated by something coming out of China. China's economy shows signs of strain as retail sales, industrial output loses momentum. Last week, just see the headlines which are coming out. An analysis. I'm not going into it. This is all the indices are low. This is from a Chinese website which I got. I showed it, I think, one of the episodes last time. Except for the trade, which has increased. They've pushed up the trade with other neighbors and they've pushed a lot of things last month and month before last. Before the tariffs could take place, they pushed it off to US. Except that, everything has fallen. And what they have pushed out to US and all as a distress sale, no profit out of it. So that they can clear what they have and cash flow is generated. Their consumption or retail sales, look at it, everybody just dipping. They thought that in August, March, April, things were okay. Now it started going down again. The latest, last week. They're looking at households to fuel a bull market. How do household savings fuel a bull market? Very simple. This story is now absolutely clear what China is up to. What is China up to? I save, I put it in a bank. I don't want to take it off because that's my nest egg. So what do the banks do? Cash-rich banks. There's no place to invest. So they buy government bonds. So what does the government do? After bonds are given, the banks buy the bonds. So the government invests it back. They put it into investment, that is infrastructure and things like that, which I'll talk of. Or they subsidize. Or they give you debt. Or they, give, what shall I say, incentives for consumption. So your own money, the Chinese money is being recycled into subsidies, investment, consumption, everything. So how long will this go? So it's a dwindling cycle. Increasingly, China itself is finding it hard to, subsidize. So the days where China can happily subsidize and increase export and make money and flood the market and take over that market are slowly disappearing because the markets are tighter and closer. And people have put up barriers, like India has put up barriers. Many other countries have. We don't understand. And so they're selling at almost no rates. How much can the government subsidize? How much can the people bear? So what we are looking at, and I keep saying, a rich state with a poor people. And it's 1+ billion people who are getting poorer by the day. Is it a strong state? Is it a strong state? That is what we have to think of when we deal with China. I'm not interested in China. What happens to China, I couldn't care a damn. But because China, I'm dealing with it, I need to understand it. Okay? I need to understand it so that I deal with it. We have border problems. We have many problems. They're interfering in our neighborhood. All that. So is there a way, like Trump is using trade as tariffs and all that? Can I use trade can I weaponize trade? People say we can't weaponize trade. No, you can. If Trump can weaponize trade with China, why can't I? But I can only if I know what's the problem and how do I weaponize. That's the whole story. We spoke of EVs, yeah, all that. Today, there's a racket in China because there's, rush. They've sold all their new NEV exporters are all new energy vehicle exporters. So what's the export going to China or from China to Russia? It's all second-hand cars, used cars. So there's this concept of 0 kilometer used car. See that the fraud which they're doing for themselves. A chap produces a car and it is sold falsely, right? So that whatever the sale is clocked as GDP or whatever. And then that fellow, it becomes a used car, he sells it at a bargain to somewhere else. It's 0 kilometer used car. So he clocks double sale. Export also and this. These are things which Chinese are doing. So everything which is coming out is, you can cut it by half. So if you think their economy has grown by 5%, forget it. How can an economy grow by 3, 4, 5% and then be in deflation? I'm not saying it's in deflation, they're saying it's in deflation. Then, there is this huge business internationally about aircraft leasing. In fact, Indigo in India also leased Turkish Airlines Corendon. Okay. Till Opsindur, when we told them go. After Opsindur, we said no, nothing to do with Turkey, so we told them to go. So Indigo was using those aircraft from Corendon, leased. Similarly, China had given a lot of aircraft to Russia on lease. These people didn't pay Russia authorities wherever. So a lot of them have kept those aircraft down. So this leasing business is also collapsing. They're not able to pay. It comes from there. And Russia and China are the biggest partners. Now, if you have to pump up infrastructure, you have to pump up GDP, and your consumption is not there, and your exports are hemorrhaging in terms of prices. Volumes are there, but no price, no profit. And what do? You pump up investment back. So China has got into investment. It's got into the high-speed rail back. They're building huge stations, more lines, everything, taking on debt. And if you think this hydropower dam in Tibet, across in Arunachal, is all about energy, all that, let's have a rethink. This is also about investment. Those massive investments which China keeps taking. Okay? All investment, because for the next 20 years, they'll keep building this dam. Investment driven economy. They're not god of that. There's only two I've shown, but they're building canals also. Canals which they probably don't need. They're building railway lines. They're still building institutions which they don't need. Look, it's a pretty weak economy. It's a big economy, but it's weak. China is trying to stifle India's economic rise. Is a given. This is Indian Express opinion I've shown because of the headline looks nice. But I've done a whole analysis on this. And this is the view from China, Chinese think tanks, that don't ensure that the Indian economy does not grow. Okay. I've had a couple of people commenting, oh, don't mislead people. China is always ready to help India. Or people, or Chinese, I don't know who, but they've been commenting for the past 2-3 days. Oh, you're one of the people who talks about China badly. I'm not talking of China badly. China is bad, so I should describe that. Okay. We need to understand, and they definitely, the entire business of Foxconn, Apple, and all that is just this. They made it a point to ensure all the Chinese went off overnight and left Apple and Foxconn on the lurch and India on the lurch. I spoke of it separately and I'm speaking again. And they have a plan to ensure that, I did it. They said, look, they want to kneecap us. Now, the fact is, that's their attitude. We have to understand. Notwithstanding all its weaknesses, everything, if you don't understand their weaknesses and if you deal with them based on their strengths alone, then you will get unequal treaties. That's why I'm putting all this. Then they'll continue to ensure that we don't grow. How do you get what you want out of them? You need to know what. Look at the political firmament. We've said, look, there is a problem in their politics. There's a Bedahi meet which is likely to happen. And they have an economic plenum coming up in a month or two. In that Bedahi meet, which is all the elders will go sit, all that. Normally the National Guards and others used to do the security. This time the PLA said we are doing the security. Zhang Yugjia said, sorry, thank you, I'm going to do it. He's in control of the PLA, not Xi Jinping. That's very clear. Whether Xi Jinping has an understanding with Zhang Yugjia or not, I don't know. You take any of the Chinese, Chinese-based, China-based, or out of China-based by Chinese YouTubers. Everyone says there's a problem, there's a political problem which is ongoing. Politically, there is no internal consensus. Why? Why is there no internal consensus in politically inside for a strong one-party system? Is it because Xi Jinping is weak? Or is it because their economy is at such strain that they don't know how to come out of it? And this Bedahi meet is all about economics. And then for the past 1 year, I've been hearing, oh, they have an economic fix for everything. Except that fix nothing. You thought the rare earths, they're going to stop you? Well, sorry. You already started doing something. So the rare earth is only a short-term fix. If in 2-3 years you don't get on and get out of the Chinese dependence on rare earths, then we are in a different planet. And this is what our Prime Minister said from the ramparts of the red earth. He says, there is a search on at 102 places for critical minerals. So whatever rare earths he's given, which I showed you in the beginning that they're giving rare earths to us, is temporary, and the Chinese know it. The Chinese themselves have come out and said, look, our hold on the rare earths and critical minerals will last another 4 or 5 years. After that, thank you. They're losing grip regionally. Gone are the days when there's a string of pearls and all. Or Prime Minister's visit to Maldives reaffirmed it. They have not helped Maldives out. And this is being told by people in Maldives. This is being told by people in Sri Lanka. People in Sri Lanka are saying, look, who helped us when we were in problems? India. Today, India is in problems. Why we shouldn't talk ill of it? He says India is in problems geopolitically, not economically, which is a fact. So your cards are pretty strong. I mean, one has to understand. How has Op Sindoor changed? Your military has changed the equations completely with China. There is a global interest from BrahMos. I've been saying this. It's not me. Everyone is saying. Today, Pakistan is putting up a rocket force. Yeah, all that nonsense. Where is it going to get rockets from? You think Chinese will give it? Also, look at the geopolitics. You see, why is China also coming towards us? They feel that, look, USA has entered Pakistan. Their leverage on Pakistan is going to reduce. And why is US entering Pakistan? Because they fear that India will take them over, or militarily. A couple of more knocks to Pakistan will put paid to Pakistan and Chinese influence out there. So they have to get to our right side. They also know that their weapons have failed. I've done a program on it and how their weapons have failed. Yeah, if I have to get into a war with China tomorrow, I don't know whether their weapons will fail or not. So I plan for it. I'm okay. But look at the Chinese. Think of the Chinese. So many of their weapons have failed. Their helicopters are failing. Their submarines are failing internationally. So, what is the level of confidence they have within themselves to get into a war with India? Will they be belligerent? They are not. In fact, from October 22, when we kicked them out of Yangtze, Chinese belligerence has gone. Right? So, we have to understand where we are militarily. China cannot push us anymore militarily. I keep telling this. I participated in a seminar where a knowledgeable chap who studies China deeply as I was interacting. Today, China is thinking defensively in Tibet. They have defensive lines. Whether we think offensively or not, I don't know, but they have started thinking defense. And again, their analysis, this says, look, today you can't make a block in South Asia without India. Forget it. There's no way. When this trilateral meeting happened last month, we did China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and there was a lot of hue and cry out here. 10 days after that, this article came out. Okay, without India, just forget it. After that, there's no talk of this trilateral meeting again. After this meeting and SCO, all this nonsense is done. Okay? And 2 of our warships are going to get commissioned shortly. I didn't know this. Chinese are reporting it. And they are all stealth frigates made in India. All this makes an effort. Think, what about India-Philippines strategy? See, very interesting and significant. It is only the Philippines, some army chief or some chap, I don't know who it was, some important guy in Philippines. He said, he categorically said, it's only India which has the balls to come and do exercise in South China Sea with Philippines. Neither USA has done, nor Japan has done, nor Taiwan has done. No one else has done. Only we did. Why? We sent 3 ships into the South China Sea to do an exercise with Philippines in the disputed area. All China could do was track these ships. They gave out some statements, anodyne statements. That's it. Equations are changing. It's not a matter of big GDP, small GDP. Of course, the GDP is 6 times our GDP. So what if? Haven't we heard of the story called David and Goliath? When did a weak country, even a weak country like Pakistan, that fellow Asim Munir barks like a dog here, everyone is in a TZ. What is his economy? What is his military? He's got nothing. And you say, yeah, India with a 4 trillion economy, can't do nothing to China. Man to man on the LAC, we are as strong as China, or if not, my guesses we are better. Many people will have doubts about it. I have no problem, but that's my view. And my view is not a foolish view. It is based on some logic and reasoning. I must here spend 5 minutes on demography. Life is about people. And people make nations. And if that's why I started in the beginning. Unemployment, debt, everything. People. Involution, whatever it is about debt. It's about people. People matter most in any nation. It's after all the People's Republic of China. It's not the robotic Republic of China. It's not the industrialized Republic of China. Things like sovereignty, territorial integrity is of a nation and its people. Why am I talking this? This is a very interesting thing. It's about USA. I saw this tweet by Elon Musk. And you'll agree with me that Elon Musk has got more brains than many of us. After all, in today's generation, I think he's one of the most innovative kind of people, scientifically and much evolved and commercially. Whatever he's done, he's been successful. Everyone has criticized him that Twitter will go down, but he's turned it around. He's got Starlinks, he's Tesla, multifaceted. What he said, he says, I've been warning about this since the turn of the century. What is that? What's he warning? And whom is he warning? He's warning USA. And this by a tweet by a chap called Tim Pool. He says the population isn't collapsing, it has collapsed. And he's talking of USA. So what does this tweet further say? The population isn't collapsing, it has collapsed. The shoreline is receding, and one understands the tsunami about to hit us. As US population goes, it will be impossible to redevelop. Automation won't replace customers. This is from USA. So the further analysis, you can see this. After all, this is there. You can go to Elon Musk and see his tweets and this Tim Pool at Timcast. You can see and this whole thread showed everything you can see. But I found this very interesting, and I'm going to connect it to China. And this is what they say about US demography. Yes, all right. Here's the scary truth. No hedging, no bullshit. Has the US population collapsed? Numerically, no. The US population is 335 million today, still growing very slowly. It hasn't shrunk in absolute terms yet. Just think. As against this, the Chinese population is shrinking. Okay. Structurally, yes, it has collapsed. Fertility rates have collapsed below replacement 1.6 births per woman versus 2.1 needed. This is in USA. They still got 1.6 births. In China, it is less than 1 today. In big cities, it's 0.06, 0.6. Every advanced economy is on the same trajectory. Every advanced economy. China is not an advanced economy. It's on this, but it is on a faster trajectory. Immigration has masked it for decades, but the base collapse is real. There's no immigration in China. If base collapse is real in USA, then think of China. Demographic time bomb. He talks of demographic time bomb. The share of older dependents is exploding, while the base of young productive workers is shrinking. This is already fracturing social security, healthcare, and housing markets. The deeper truth, what Tim Pool is sensing but not articulating. This isn't USA. All this is being endorsed by Elon Musk, who makes robots. What's the case in China? Population collapse isn't about head count today. It's about momentum. And that momentum is not there in USA. If momentum is not there in USA, what's the problem? What's the case in China? It just got the worst demography today globally other than South America, South Korea. The demographic collapse in China is the fastest recorded in human history. It's happening. 5 years. I give it more. In 5 years, you'll see this. And these people are talking of tsunami in America. What's that? What's happening in China there? And I've always felt that demography is the weakest point of China. They don't have people. 1 billion people with no people. He says, once fertility craters for multiple generations, the system becomes irreversible. Even if you doubled fertility tomorrow, it takes 20 plus years before these children enter the workforce. By then, the imbalance between young and old bankrupts the system. Japan, South Korea, China are already living inside this future. He's not a fool who's made all this. He's looking at a future for USA, and the worst off in this are South Korea and China. US is 15 to 20 years behind them, but the trajectory is locked. Why it matters? One, economy. Capitalism needs young buyers, which are vanishing, not just savers, not old savers. Automation can replace workers, but it can't replace customers. This is what I've been talking of. And this chap is talking exactly the same language, and this is being endorsed by Elon Musk. Please understand what's happening in China. Geopolitics, a shrinking, aging population means less military age manpower, less risk taking, more conservatism. It hollows empire status. So China has no more empire status. Please, how weak is China? Don't measure China by GDP. Don't measure it by its industry. Don't measure it by exports. The day we do that, we are idiots. Then he talks of markets. Equity valuations are implicitly built on perpetual growth. When populations contract, these assumptions break. Reflexivity, not reflexively. Belief in the American growth engine is part of the US dollar's reserve status. If demographics undermine that belief, global capital flows fracture. My blunt verdict: the US population hasn't collapsed yet in raw numbers, but structurally it is already there. Then we talk of UN becoming dollar, replacing dollar. Just forget it. The problem for USA is 15 years away after China. Yet they've started thinking, and a guy like Elon Musk endorses all this story. The collapse isn't visible on the surface because immigration and inertia mask it. But the base reproductive engine is dead. Remember, in China, there's no immigration. And the cracks are very clear on the surface. That this means Tim Pool's tsunami analogy is actually correct. The shoreline looks fine now, but the water has already been sucked out. This is the analysis for China, for USA. What is it for China? The US won't shrink tomorrow, but within 20 to 30 years, without massive immigration or radical biotech fertility breakthroughs, America faces the same demographic death spiral as Japan, only with a collapsing empire layered on top. Thank you. This fellow is just, if I replace China, it's all in the past tense. That's why I said 28 to 32, you'll see a massive shift in China. I'm predicting it. I've been predicting it in almost, and more than anyone, the PRC recognizes it, but they'll not talk of it. So what does that give you? It gives you leverage. It gives you agency. It gives you strength. Because your demographics for the next 30, 40 years are going to be okay. Yeah, we have problems. Let's see, but not now. Right. That's all I have to tell you today, because I thought I must put across to all of you. When we talk, we've spoken of the dangers of dealing with China. I've also spoken of a lot about the border problem. And some things have come out, and which I'll analyze today. And maybe I'll come back today evening with the analysis of a geopolitical based analysis of how to deal with China and what are the implications of the border and all that. And the previous two analyses which I've done are there in the description. This is completely different because this is my analysis. This analysis tells me how to deal with China hereafter. This is part of that story. If you think I'm not discussing how India China ties, sorry, I am. So, those two videos which I've done on Chinese perception of India border conflict, Indo China border, India China border conflict, and the dangers of dealing with China are there. You can have a look in the description. This is the third of that series. Now, whatever is happening, I also am aware that Wang Yi has gone to Pakistan. We'll discuss it in the evening or tomorrow. It depends. I have to do some analysis and I'll get back. So, this is what it is. Take it for what it's good. But I'm very clear what I am. And that's why I put together all this. We need to factor all this when we discuss with them. Okay. So, if you like this video, press the like button and also join Gunner Shot or subscribe to Gunner Shot, one of the two. And I'll take some questions now. Yeah, Akshar, thanks a lot for becoming a member for 6 months. Great. China would have pounced to beat up India when India is under pressure from US. It's not doing only because it itself is in shambles. I agree with you, Akshar. Thank you. It can't. It today needs India to handle US, and US needs India to handle China. Both are not so great. We'll see. We must know how to handle ourselves. We must know our own strengths. We'll talk of it. How to handle China and India. That's the point I'm going to talk of maybe today evening or tomorrow morning. Yeah, absolutely brilliant China series. Thank you. Yeah, Ramit, I have learned a lot from you. You have inspired me to be proud of being an Indian and Hindu. You have only taught me how to expand and use my clinical thinking skills, critical thinking skills. Love from me. Thanks a lot, Ramit. All of you who are sitting there, and I'll give you some figures in the evening. If USA misbehaves, let me put it this way, and does something, and if the Indian workforce leaves USA can forget it. I mean, so we have to see how to deal with USA. We'll talk of it. Yeah, thanks a lot, Pramit. You've been following me. You're 24, young boy, younger than my son. I'm glad that you are following me. Thanks a lot. All the best to you. Do well. Look after your family. Look after yourself. Yeah, the initiative proposed by our PM got a booster shot. Thanks to the US. Yes. The Atmanirbhar vision will get stalled if we get hooked by the China fantasy. That's why I put this out, Eddie. That's why I put this out. We need to get credible data about China, like proper intelligence with actual agents in the field. You don't need to. You can't. I'm sure we have also. Let me put it this way. Okay? Don't worry about it. Yeah, very passionate and sensible analysis. I'm very clear. It's not a matter of being passionate or say about it, but one has to be clear about what it is. Yeah, let me see which are. Okay, let me go to the top and see questions. Rupa and Deb, good morning. Simran Sidhu, also Chinese snail. Yeah, that's the interesting part. That's what prompted me to do this today. I didn't make this snail up. It's the Chinese who themselves call themselves a snail. Yeah, I agree with you that China is weakening. Is India taking advantage of a weaker China? I'm sure they will. I'm sure we will. I have no doubt about it. Isn't the Chinese snail? Yeah, it's a Chinese snail. That's the thing. The snail, I've never seen China depict itself as a snail. Dragon Ruben देख लिया, panda देख लिया, snail first time. I couldn't resist it. Rohan, good morning. Tarun, yeah, Ram Ram. Yeah, Sarkar, please press the like button. Thank you, madam. Sir, TBM can be imported from Germany, Russia. I agree with you. Global Times referred to India-China relationship as India elephant panda instead of the usual dragon depiction. Interesting twist. Yeah, but South China Morning Post has depicted itself as snail. Yeah, I was watching a podcast of former US diplomats and military officials in which they said that Trump is an idiot and a rogue. He is causing grave damage to US interests by taking on India for his own personal gains. Is this a message that the US policy circle themselves are fed up with Trump? It may fall flat on its face in the midterm election. Let's see how it goes. The fact is that chap is the president. You can't do anything about it. You have to deal with them. So let's deal with them. And I need to do a program on how to deal with USA and China simultaneously. We'll do it. Okay. King of Gabon, good morning. Hmm. Yeah. Hans also, good morning. Thanks a lot. Let me see. Who else? Ramki also, morning. Hmm. Yeah. CCP also robbed their citizen saving account salary. That's how they do it. Well, hmm. Ashish. Hmm. China may succeed from the current trap by focusing on welfare of their people rather than exploiting them to increase capacity and productivity. They can't because the Chinese Communist Party is not structured to do that. In a power grab, no one bothers about people. That's the thing. And smoking panda, Jai Shri Ram. Thanks a lot. But the power grab is very prominent, and wherever the communists have operated, it's all about power. It's not about people. They talk about the people, they use the people to grab power, and they kill the people. Yeah, that's what he says. Large population and debt will lead only to the dilemma: what are they? Is it really communism? Is this what peasants were put on a path of extremely violent and brutal revolution, so called? That's the problem with China. They are in a trap, in fact, politically also. Yeah, good morning. Thanks a lot, Arthur. Um, am I justified in feeling contempt towards PRC? Yeah, they suddenly banned exports of tunnel boring machines rarer to us to stifle our growth. They create issues and seek concessions to undo them. Look, they're weaponizing trade and their things. That's okay. We can also do the same thing. I'm sure we can. We will. So many introspective and self-critical articles in Chinese press. Is this a symptom of systematic issues or just trouble at the top? Are people something is happening in China? You have to understand, and that is all about people. Like I said, if people are vanishing, people are getting old, the new people are not getting jobs. There is a problem, and that problem, how much will China keep it under wraps, is a issue. That's the point. Problem. How much will they put a lid on it? We don't know. Why did PRC mischievously state in its readout that EM has reaffirmed Chinese sovereignty over Taiwan? It's not only that. They also said that Mr. Dole has spoken of one China. So it's come out, but we'll handle it. Don't worry. Regarding the border issue with China, that what is the ideal outcome that India should want? Also, Chinese weakness means India should patiently wait. Yes, the ideal outcome is I want all Akshay Chin back, but you have to be patient about it. The time will come. My guess is that time will come. Something has started. We'll have to analyze this separately how to deal with China because they put out WMCC and to start delimiting the border and early harvest and all. They got there is promise, but there are dangers in this early harvest. But I'll talk of it separately. I don't want to get that here because that's a whole program. But we have to talk of it. Yeah, China's oil imports are from Russia and Iran. Can it devalue yuan and cause further trouble for all other exporting? I don't think it can. It's been a problem. If it devalues, there's a limit to how much it can devalue, and they pegged it to the dollar. So there are issues. You know, there are issues. Yeah, Chinese can never be trusted. I live among them, whether communist or not. It is in their DNA. I agree with you, Murugesan, completely. Do you think we can create a detent with China? Also, can we demarcate eastern and central sector border with China? I feel the Ladakh sector would be near impossible to demarcate. We can create a detent with China, and we'll talk of it. That's why I said, how do you deal with China and USA together? I'll do it. Or if I can't do it, at least let me do once separately, USA separately China. But I'm doing. I'll do it. I'll get back to you. Is US planning a similar strategy of crashing Indian economy by making India export-oriented economy? It can't happen. Don't worry. It's either this is too big a change, and our people are consumers by nature. I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, Trump wants people to use tariffs to pay off national debt. Seems like CCP is also doing something similar, basically using the disenfranchised and end user common man to foot the bill. Yeah, same thing. I agree with you. It's a very interesting observation you made. They want the common man to foot the bill. Yeah, China is at odds with almost everyone in the world except Russia, North Korea, and Iran today. I agree with you. Russia is temporary. Yeah, Olakun, talking of Trump's expectation from Pakistan will rise. I think Pakistan, we discussed yesterday quite a bit. Let them go. Where are they? Yeah, any plans to own high-end tunnel boring machines? We can't be beholden to China for this. Well, look, a lot of things we are beholden to China. Even DAP. DAP is the fertilizer which we are importing. Thing like DAP we're not able to do. Why leave tunnel boring machines? So I think we have a lot to do. And at this point of time, I think so far we've been lax. We've been given a kick by China and USA on these issues. And the Prime Minister is alive and he'll do the needful. Let's look at it that way. Yeah, please do a show on what economic reforms our government must undertake to ensure that our export mean remains competitive despite low IQ buffoons tariffs. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Let me get the right forum. Yeah, what happens to their plans of 6 wars? Where these are all propaganda which they put out at the peak of their growth. That's all gone now. There's no more. Just forget about all that nonsense. What is the recent notam about Agni 4-6? Let's come out. Let's see. It'll come out. We'll wait today, tomorrow. It's going to happen 28th, 21st, isn't it? Blockbuster session. Thanks a lot, Ashish. Hmm. Okay. Tim Pool, former editor of Vice News, when it was actually, I don't know who it was, Ghosh. Thanks a lot for telling. I suppose he's a chap of some significance, but at least he spoke sense. That's how it is. Okay. Yeah, fine. I think generally, I've touched on most questions, right? And we'll leave it at that. Let me see what I can do in the evening, whether I want to, let me see how the day goes. Whether we want to touch on India China border issues and what we have to do, or go to USA and see how to deal with USA. Till then, have a great day and thanks for joining in. And we'll join back at about 8 o'clock in the evening. Right? Good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and Jai Hind to all of you.